It's like I never left. So yes, I'm back. For those of you that don't know, I'm Han. This is Han Talks First, a Star Wars podcast, and I realize most of my followers have probably left me to rot at the bottom of this Sarlacc pit I've been in for the past year, but I decided to come back to YouTube, back to podcasting, with the premiere of The Acolyte. So yesterday, me and my girlfriend got to see The Acolyte 2-episode premiere in theaters, which I gotta tell you is a whole nother level of experiencing Star Wars TV. And if anyone has watched any of my reviews on Star Wars television shows, you know that I am not the biggest fan of almost any of them. So I went in with tempered expectations into The Acolyte, but I was still hopeful inside of me. Okay, so let's see if I remember how to do this, and let's make a Han Talks First return to YouTube with the premiere review for Acolyte. Episodes 1 and 2.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Before I get into the review, I want to tell you about my experience in the theater. We saw it at El Capitan on Hollywood Boulevard here in Los Angeles. Of course, the theater that is owned by Disney, so it has that magical experience to it. And it was my first time being there. It's a lovely theater, gorgeous atmosphere, and one of the coolest parts was right before the showing, a live organist popped up from underneath the stage and started playing some classic music. And it was great. The crowd was really into it. You know, they were saying before, they were like, make sure you get there early because it's going to be a packed house. Well, it wasn't a packed house, which was kind of shocking, but also not surprised because Disney Star Wars has been kind of a letdown over the past year and a half. Nevertheless, the people that were there were huge fans and they were excited, and that kind of helped my experience a lot more than I think it would have if I would just sat at home, watched it on TV. So long before The Acolyte was coming out, and when we saw trailers, heard news snippets, saw things in the trades, heard about casting, I was very, very nervous because of how things went down with things like the Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian Season 3, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, oh my god. All of these things, every single show had so much potential going into it, and a lot of it was just rushed and poorly written. Some of it didn't even know what to do in Star Wars or how to be a Star Wars show. And a lot of it is due to the fact that it is experimental television. Let's be honest. One, we're dealing with streaming shows, which is in of itself a brand new model for premium content, at least by the Walt Disney Company. Another factor is all these shows have used the volume, which is a excellent tool, but is not always used to the best of its ability and is still limited in a lot of different ways. So when we found out that The Acolyte was going to shoot on real locations and on sets, and they were going to build everything and use practical elements, that alone got me really pumped. And it's worth it when you see it on the screen. It's incredible. Put a little asterisk by that comment because we did see it on a big screen in a movie theater with like premium quality vision and scope to it, and maybe that enhanced it a little bit. Maybe the effects are coming out a little bit more than watching it on a home video. So I'll have to go back and rewatch it on Disney Plus once it drops, but it was incredible to see. The practical elements were great. The CGI was really good. Felt like they spent more time with it, or they had a director or a VFX supervisor who was more adept to the material or the vision that was trying to be presented on screen. So as far as the look, it looks great. It looks like Star Wars. Some of the choreography and the action was not to my liking. I mean, but that's fine. I get what they were going for. They were still trying to tell a story in the fights, which is great. That's how it should be in Star Wars. That's probably the weakest element of the visual tone of everything, but visually, it's there for me. Next, I want to talk about the cast, because this cast is filled with tons of great talent. Daphne King, Amanda Stenberg, Manny Jacinto. Yes. Rebecca Henderson, Lee Jung-jae, Charlie Burnett, Carrie Ann Moss, Abigail Thorne, and I'm sure the list keeps going on and on. Seeing some of these people on screen in a television series for Star Wars really elevated the content a little bit, especially coming from such talented actors such as Carrie Ann Moss and Lee Jung-jae. I think personally at the moment, from the first 2 episodes, Lee is my favorite actor in the series and probably my favorite character. He plays Soul, which is kind of funny because once we left the theater, I told my girlfriend, I was like, he's a very Qui-Gon-esque character. And sure enough, we looked up afterwards and he said he based his character on Qui-Gon Jinn. So it's kind of like Good job, buddy. You nailed it. I'll be quite honest when it comes to actors like Amanda Stenberg. I'm not too familiar with their catalog, but I will say in The Acolyte, her performance is really captivating. I don't like the performance as her villain character. I don't know why, but just parts of that just don't seem very well performed, or maybe there's just not enough to go off of with the script. I don't know, but I did not care for that version of her performance at all, really. But her as the lead good guy, I really loved. I really did. She stole my heart. Daphne Keane is incredible. I mean, obviously from Logan. I didn't realize it was her until maybe episode 2 because of the makeup, and I kind of wish she wasn't in it because I would have loved to seen her a little bit more, but she's in Star Wars, so whatever. Charlie Burnett, I really loved him in this. He's kind of the comedic relief a little bit. You know, he plays this very handsome, bold, wannabe noble, wannabe admired Jedi Knight, but he's still kind of young at heart and mind, and you can see him struggle mentally with how he wants to appear, but inside he's a little eager, he's a little, inexperienced, and he kind of needs to put himself in his place a little bit, which I loved. And the comedic elements to him trying to be bold and make plans, that really made the character feel more realistic, and it was good to see. It was a nice surprise. At first I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but it grew on me. Manny Jacinto was incredible. Obviously known for his role in The Good Place. He was another standout for me. I mean, I've never seen him do something like this where he gets to show off his dramatic chops to being an actor, but also playing more serious and also still being funny at the same time. I know that you guys are going to love where his character arc is going, and that's all I'll say. So overall, casting's great. I don't have any complaints. I mean, obviously there's some moments that are just not working scene by scene, but I think some of that comes from directing and the fact that this is TV, so it's a limited amount of budget, limited amount of time, so you're not going to get everything. But so far, really good casting. Even the supporting cast, like the little side aliens, things like that, it has the same nature and the same effect from the other TV shows, but this one, I don't know what it is, if it's just timing, if it's just writing, but it's better. The supporting characters in this show are better than anything I've seen in Boba Fett or Ahsoka or Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, so unfortunately, if you're wanting to hear my thoughts on where I think the story is going to go, I can't actually speak to that because I know some things about the ending. The show is going to have twists and turns, and unfortunately, I know what some of those might be, and I think if I tried to hint at what I think is going to happen, it would spoil it and it would ruin it for other people. And I know that sounds like a nobody trying to sound cool, but it's legitimate. I work here in the industry, and there was an agent to one of the actors that I've been working with, and they shared the story with me because they know I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So all I'm going to say is I think it's something that will please a lot of people. And so I think it's finally something that we needed to see, not just in Star Wars again, but also in a TV show. Just something that is an original take, an original twist, an original idea, not relying on older legacy characters or Easter eggs, something that is fresh. But what I will say about the story is I like it. I think this is going in a good direction. It's shot very well. It's shot like a film. I mean, that goes back to the visual tone of everything, the detail in the VFX, the cinematography. The directing is good, but I think the second unit director is doing a pretty bad job, especially with the fight choreographies. The writing is good. The writing's very good. I like it a lot. I mean, I know a lot of people were like, oh my god, it's the writer of Russian Dolls. This is amazing. Oh my god, it's gonna be written so well. It's gonna be like Andor 2.0. I would bet money that most of those people saying that have never seen Russian Dolls. I've never seen Russian Dolls. I don't care to watch that show. For what this is on its own, it seems to be very well written. It seems to have a clear vision, and if the other 6 episodes are anything like the first 2, I think this could be some of the best Star Wars TV since Mandalorian Season 2. The other thing I'll say about story is getting into the High Republic era, the time period it's set in. I am not a fan of the High Republic novels, never really have been. Wasn't a fan of the idea as a whole. I mean, the tone that they're set, the whole idea with the characters and the aesthetic, the robes, the time period, what they're trying to do, I get it, but it's not for me. And I was worried about that going into this because, but when they showed the High Republic stuff in Jedi Survivor, I did really love it because it wasn't reliant on me knowing information from the books, and it was kind of like vintage. It wasn't actually taking place in the High Republic. It was like hearing stories from the past, which was really cool. I was worried, but I actually like it. I thought it was going to be this weird new thing, but I think it fits. And this is actually a lot more like the prequels than Disney Star Wars to me. And I think that goes back to Leslie Headland saying she was a big fan of the prequels when they came out, and she wanted to make essentially a story about how we got to the prequel era. Yeah, I think that's my thoughts on the first 2 episodes. Obviously, it's going to take me some time to get used to doing reviews in front of a camera again and being on YouTube. I'll get back in the swing of it. But now that I'm back, I'm curious to see if YouTube has changed at all, or if the community has, as far as like comments go, because some of you guys, Jesus, just be kind. Just be kind. I hope it's not the same space that I was in a year ago that was part of the reason why I left YouTube. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts. Be kind, everybody, and just, you know, don't be a piece of poodoo. Okay, thanks for watching this video. You don't have to like it. You don't have to comment. I really don't care anymore. May the Force be with you.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.